Hello, guys and gals, everybody. Do you know your cost of goods sold, or COGS, for Amazon and or eBay? So first of all, before I start, I am not a tax professional. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a CPA. So do not take my advice as coming from someone who does this for a living. Just going to share information about this topic and my experience and what I've read about it. So now that we've gotten all that out of the way, do you know what your cost of goods are, your COGS are for Amazon or eBay? And it could be really, you could sell anything. You don't have to just sell books or CDs or DVDs or records or whatever. I mean, you could sell clothes, you could sell shoes, you could sell anything. And I mean, we're talking about reselling here. You could resell whatever on eBay or Amazon, and you still need to know what your cost of goods are. So when I first started out, basically, if you're newer and you're watching this video, when I first started out doing reselling on Amazon only for the first couple of years, I knew that I had to buy inventory, right? But I didn't know what it was called. I didn't know that there was a term for the money that I was spending to acquire the inventory to then turn around, send it into Amazon to FBA and resell it for a profit. So I found out later down the road that what it was called, that it's called cost of goods sold, or COGS. But I knew clearly that I had to purchase or obtain somehow, buy or someone give to me merchandise, inventory, books in the beginning to resell. So it's kind of, when you're doing reselling, it's one of the first steps aside from getting your Amazon account set up or your eBay account set up is to buy some inventory. Sometimes you can just look around the house and maybe have a bunch of books that you want to get rid of, and some of them you can resell, so you don't have to go out and spend money. But basically, you need to spend a little bit of money to acquire inventory. And let's say you go out and spend $100, well, and you buy 100 books, just to make it simple. So your cost of goods is basically a dollar per item, right? 100 books divided by $100. So a dollar per item, and that's your cost of goods. Now, of course, that's just one expense, but it's clearly an important one to know, and it reminds me just of the topic because of doing my taxes and it being tax season, and everybody having to do their taxes and whatnot, and keeping track of your cost of goods is pretty easy when you're not selling very much, but when you start selling a lot more, it can be a big pain. But it's still important that you have, if not an exact number, which you probably should have. Again, I'm not a CPA or an accountant, but you should have at least an average number of what what you're spending on each individual item that you're going to resell. Now, getting into the weeds a little bit of it, basically, from what I understand, again, I'm not a tax professional, but from what I understand, is you can only write off, so for 2018, you can only write off your cost of goods, hey Terry, for what has actually sold. So the inventory, if you bought 1,000 items, just as a, to use easy numbers here, if you bought 1,000 items to resell in 2018, but let's say you sold 700 of them, so you can only write off the cost of goods for those 700, not for all 1,000, from what I understand. So that's another little tidbit if you're new and you're not familiar with that. There may or may not, which I don't know, be a way to write off all of it. That might be a whole different way of doing your taxes. I don't know, but that is the one that I'm familiar with. So you need to know what your cost of goods are, number one, before even tax season comes around, just so you know how much money you're spending and how much you're going to sell those items for. Because if you spend $1 on a book and you sell it for not very much money, for $10 on Amazon, well, you're probably not, it's going to have to be a really small book, and you're probably going to not make very much money. So, you need to know where the spread is, how much you're going to get back after all the fees and whatnot. So you need this information to be able to basically calculate what your gross profit is going to be. Yeah, GoDaddy is has a bookkeeping software that you can use, like Terry said. Of course, you can always go like QuickBooks or whatever, but there's a lot of, whether it's GoDaddy, QuickBooks, whatever, there's a lot of different softwares you can use. You can do weekly, you can go through for each sale that you made and list them in your software. You can go monthly, daily, whatever it is, whatever works best for you to keep track of it, so that at the end of the year you don't have to go back and do it for the entire year. And yeah, so you need to know the information to be able to, calculate what your profit's going to be. And also, part of it is basically like if you need to know what your minimum profit, what you need slash want to make off of each item that you resell. Everybody has their own minimums, minimum profit. Some people say minimum price that they're going to sell a book or a CD or whatever at. Some people do minimum profit. I like to do minimum profit, so I can just look at my scanning app and see how much profit I'm going to make off a certain item based upon all the, whether it's cost of goods or fees or whatnot. So yeah, so that's important too. I found this on a website where it talks about cost of goods, and this is from, boy, I don't even know what this is. It's some sort of accounting organization, and it says that your cost of goods includes material cost, direct labor cost, and direct factory overheads, which doesn't really apply to us. But so material cost and labor. I don't know how you factor in labor, but your material costs are basically what we're, for reselling purposes, what we're spending on the books or other media that we're reselling. Now, the cool thing about a lot of the apps is it breaks it down. Yeah, I know. Oh, yeah, yeah, for sure. Terry says the first thing my accountant always says is these Amazon fees are killing you. I know. That same thing happened to me recently. Um, you look at how much your gross sales were, and then you look at how much Amazon took away in fees, and it's like, oh my God, it just seems crazy. Um, but that's all built into it, right? When you're out there sourcing and you say, oh, this book sells for 25 bucks, I'm going to make 10 bucks or 15 bucks or whatever, but I only spent a dollar, $2 on the book. So I'm still coming out, after all the fees, inbound shipping, storage, and cost of goods, I'm still coming out with a nice profit, right? So, but yeah, when you look at it that way, at the end of the year, and you made X amount of dollars, and they took how much out in Amazon fees, it's pretty brutal. But that's just that's the Amazon business. So so when you're looking at your selling your app, it's going to break down like Scoutly. I'm sure it does the same thing on other apps. It breaks it down. You can click through, push through to in Scoutly to look at, your to see your profit, and you can see all the different expenses. So what the sale price is. It's gonna it's gonna take out the Amazon fees, various fees that there are, and then you can also do, what do you call it? You can also have like shipping costs, whether inbound shipping cost is in there, if you have an average for that. There's also storage, monthly storage fees, and then even I don't know about the scanning app, but I know on the FBA, the Amazon fee calculator, it has one for materials. So like if you're shipping, you're doing merchant fulfilled, you can have how much you spent on the envelope kind of a thing, 20 cents an envelope or whatever. And then of course cost of goods, and that's going to end up being your gross profit, right? So all of that stuff needs to be taken into consideration. Luckily, the apps do it instantly as long as all your information is correct in there. Your cost of goods is right, and what do you call it? Inbound shipping is not, if it says it's 10 cents when it's actually 25 cents. I mean, you should have kind of like a general idea based upon how much your shipping usually costs, what it's going to be. And that's not a major, if it's a difference of 10 or 15 cents, that hopefully is not going to make or break you, but on buying that. But anyway, so Those are all the things that come into consideration. I put the cost of, pick and roll says I put the cost of the book into my SKU. So as each sells, I can enter into Excel. Yeah, I do the same thing. You can add it on the end of the SKU. I do that when I list an Exceller list so that you can just pull it from there. So that's one thing I wanted to talk about in this video. And Exceller list, I don't think has this ability. I believe Inventory Labs does. To be able to track your cost of goods. I wish Amazon would have the ability to, like, if you put your cost of goods in a listing software, it'll just drop it into a column in Amazon so that it's attached to each item, so that when they sell, you can just, run a report on Amazon and just say like a cost of goods report, and it'll just pull all the cost of goods from each item that's sold for that month. And then you can just drop that number into your, or better yet, I was going to say into your accounting software, or better yet, it just syncs up with your accounting software and drops it in there for you. That would be really cool. But there's all this, instead of that having to be the way to do it, we have to manually, type it into Excel or put into GoDaddy or whatever software, QuickBooks, whatever software we're using. There doesn't seem to be a real simple way to deal with it. Oh, hey Fabian, how you doing? So it's kind of a pain in the butt when you have to go back through it and do your cost of goods, whether it's weekly, monthly, whatever, how often you do it. It would just be nice if Amazon had a way to track that easily, that it was just attached to each item, but I guess they don't. Resurfacing media. Okay, cool. Yeah, I need to resurface a few discs that I am going to send in for Amazon, but yeah, I just, when you're doing this for a while, you know what cost of goods is and how important it is to keep track of it, or at least have an idea, of what your average cost of goods are. I mean, sometimes it can be pretty, it depends, some thrift, like for instance, some thrift stores, it varies, right? So some thrift stores I can get books for less than $1. Yeah, Inventory Labs has that as well. And others, it costs more money. Sometimes it costs less. Bulk varies because it depends on how many items I actually pull out that are ones that I can resell. So yeah, it's not as easy as just like I spend $1.25 on every single item, unless you have one source and you get all your stuff to resell from it and it costs the same for everything. Then that would be really simple. You wouldn't even have to jot it down. You wouldn't have to keep track of it. You would just say how many items did I sell times what they cost per item. Easy. But because cost of goods vary, we have to keep better track of it, because then it's harder to figure out exactly how much each item, how much we spent on each item that we resold for the year. So yeah, so that's one fun part about being a reseller, is cost of goods. So, which makes you wonder how some of the bigger sellers deal with it. I'm sure they have some sort of high-powered software and somebody doing it for them. But if you're selling hundreds of items a day or more, thousands of items a day, talk about a headache, right? So there's got to be a way to track that efficiently and not be so labor intensive. But for us smaller sellers, it's a little easier because if you're doing it by yourself, you have better control over it. Although you have to end up doing all the work as well. Yeah. So if you guys have any comments or questions about this topic, let me know. Otherwise, probably just start talking about some other stuff. Somebody mentioned about the video that I made about Keepa and the sales rank disappearing, that if you pay for it, that you can then you can somehow implement it in. Right. that there's a way to log in to keep while you're using your scanning software, and then I guess it just syncs it up or something like that. Anyway, that's what one person said. What? Where do you want? Where are they? All of it? In this?
Yeah. Sorry.
No, that's fine. I mean, slide right now, people staring at me.
Blame
So yeah, so I guess there's some way to deal with that. I mean, I figured there would be. Yeah, off-topic question, Pick and Roll has. Go ahead. Maybe you know this answer. Hopefully I do. I have FBA book sale pending for 13 days. Buyer emailed asking for tracking after 6 days. I explained it is direct from Amazon. Whoops. To check her account for any issues. Now she's saying she'll open a case against me if she doesn't get tracking her book. I explained again. Yeah, I would call Amazon seller support. Has this happened to you before? Well, whenever I've had any issues with somebody complaining about not getting something, I usually just write them a message saying, give them the number and say call the number, and usually that's fine. But okay, I would call seller support, Amazon seller support, and tell them exactly what's going on, that you've communicated with the buyer, and because they're supposed to Amazon's supposed to take responsibility for it. And even if if it's an issue on their end, as in it was an FBA order fulfilled by Amazon and the book has not shown up, it was sent out and there was a mistake in the mail, then that's totally Amazon's fault. So even if she opens a case against you, it shouldn't affect your account. But I would call Amazon for sure, and speak to someone on the phone and say, this is what's going on, pull up the order and find out. What? No, there's seller support. Yeah, no, there's seller support. If you go into, am I logged in? Hold on. Hold on. So if you go in, I'm at seller support now, help. And you go down to contact us. And then you click on fulfillment by Amazon. Shipping, let's say, I wish I could show my screen. Here we go. So then on the left, it'll say contact us, and it says fulfillment by Amazon. You click down there. I don't know, there's a couple. I can't remember exactly. I'm trying to remember how I investigate other FBA. Oh, there it is. Investigate other FBA issues, and then click on phone, and you can call. Are you still here? Are you following me? So if you're in seller support, go to help, and then the contact us will pop up on the left. Yeah, there's definitely, they'll call you or you can call them. You can say call me now, actually, and then they'll call you. Yeah, whatever the issue is, just call them and they should take care of it. If it was merchant fulfilled, then that's different. But if it FBA, I mean, you can get somebody on the phone and tell them exactly what's going on, and they should tell you, like, oh, no problem, sir, we'll handle it. Tell them that the person that ordered is threatening to open a case, this, that, and the other, and they should say, oh, no, it's our responsibility, we'll handle it, we'll contact the buyer, etc. Oh, $84 sale. Oh man, those are the worst. Why couldn't it be a $15 sale, right? Yeah, so I would recommend that. I mean, Oh, medical book, yeah. Yeah, I'd recommend calling them. Yeah. Seller support can be a pain in the butt, you know, on the phone. It can be frustrating because a lot of the people that answer the phone aren't, there's often a language barrier, or they're just not very good at their job, or both. So often it can be frustrating, and that's why a lot of people don't even like to call. They prefer to do the through email or through the, I think there's like a chat you can do, which I just prefer to call, even though it can be frustrating. Yeah, whenever there's an FBA issue, shipping issue, if someone is complaining about it, call, let them know, give them the number, and then if they're not willing to call, if they leave you negative feedback, then you call Amazon, you tell them, well, you try to rid of it. If they're complaining about the shipping and it's FBA, they should automatically, Amazon should strike it out. But yeah, always call Amazon, because when it's FBA, they're supposed to take responsibility for that issue, which is, you know, which is a good thing. Yeah. So let's see. What else can we talk about? I don't know, guys. So if you guys have any other comments? Oh, here goes Terry. I didn't even see that. It's now impossible to reconcile a shipment because Amazon now demands proof of purchase uploaded before they will reconcile missing items. Oh. Yeah, I had the issue where they, when was that, last year? I made some videos about that where they lost a whole box of mine and they reimbursed me. I can't remember how much it was, but not nearly enough. It was supposed to be like 3 or 4 times more at least. And then they suddenly, after like a month, you can watch the old videos. I don't remember how long ago it was, some point last year. Then they suddenly found the box and all my items went live. And then they took the money back that they reimbursed me. Yeah, so it's crazy how Amazon there still seems, or I don't know, there's the seller support, whether it's on the phone or through email. They still haven't been told or don't seem to understand that there's a difference between people like us that resell used items, and don't get proof of purchase, or rather like an invoice or anything like that, other than, you know, just a receipt that doesn't show exactly what you bought at the thrift store, or at the garage sale or at the book sale. If you can even get a receipt, it's not going to say this title for this much money, this book. It's just, you know, going to say book or whatever. You know, they don't seem to understand, but compared to people that buy from, you know, some manufacturer or whatever it may be, and they get invoices, they get a detailed invoice where they can submit those because they're brand new items, and they actually have an invoice for it. So whereas when you're reselling books and other types of media, used books and other types of media, and it's rare to come across something new, it's much more difficult, or pretty much impossible, to come up with what they're asking for, and they don't seem to get it as employees of Amazon, which says to me they're not being told that there's a difference, or that they should look out for that difference. But that's just like an ongoing problem all the time. Whenever there's an issue, like something goes missing, or any type of issue with our inventory that we send into them to take care of, and they want proof of it, and it's like, well, you know, I went to the thrift store, or I got a big giant box. I bought a box of CDs for $200 or whatever, and Gaylord, and that's it, you know. It doesn't list the CDs individually. They're not new. So yeah, when they ask for that kind of stuff, it's pretty ridiculous. Yeah, so all right, guys, I'm glad some of you guys came out to watch this. If you guys have other comments about COGS, let me know right now. Otherwise, I think I'm gonna end the video because I don't want to ramble on and on about different topics when I'm trying to stick to one topic. But if you have more comments or questions or corrections or anything, please leave them in the comment section below. Hopefully, if you're new, you learned a little something about cost of goods and how important it is to know what your cost of goods are. If you've been doing it for at least a few years, you kind of, you've been around the block, you know what the deal is. But yeah, so hopefully, if you have questions or anything, I'll help you out. But please leave a thumbs up if you like the video, subscribe if you're not subscribed, and leave a comment below if you want to.